So once we started really getting into the thick of making the content for the toolkits, it was like, wow, we're actually going to have to do this. And certain parts of the process I really enjoyed, other parts were a lot I struggled a lot with. But it actually, with the team I was working with, the way it shuffled out was that the parts I enjoyed the most were actually the parts that the other 2 or 3 people really didn't enjoy. And so I was able to take on some of the conditional logic side and some of the more back-end pieces where Nick and Jillian and Cindy and Sharon were able to focus on some of the more content pieces. And yeah, it ended up working really well in the end.
The actual process of making the toolkits was somewhat of a complicated thing. I had to learn a lot about the background thinking that goes into things rather than just taking the content that we wanted, but what was the actual learning design and coming up with the right kinds of questions. That was the part that I found the most difficult, but also the most rewarding.
So I felt that the learning process and documenting learning was truly a learning process in itself as you're starting to document the different steps. We had such a large scope and we had to narrow it down into simple toolkits that would have questions that would actually make students reflect upon their own experiences and their learning. And the hardest part was trying to think in different ways, because different students approach different questions. So a question that makes me stop and reflect could be an entirely different question to another student. So it was trying to make sure that the questions that we choose would gather the largest audience possible.
One of the challenges was that when we were right in the middle of things, there was sort of this fight between the ideas that we had and what the technology would allow, or the capabilities that we had with the technology. And so that created, the tension between those two, it was definitely frustrating, and it also meant that we had to do a lot of sort of reassessment, and we had these ideas and then we'd have to stop, go back, and proceed down another route. So it caused some frustration, and it was also overwhelming because of the fact that there were so many things that we were trying to accomplish, and we were getting hung up on sort of some of the smaller things, and it felt like we weren't moving ahead, that we were stagnating in one spot. So yeah, it was definitely a little bit bumpy with that tension between the ideas and the capability of the technology.